We got a huge day, not only in crypto, but for a lot of the markets, stock market, gold. And what I'm talking about is that it's because it's the FOMC meeting today, and we're going to get a Fed rate cut or Fed decision on a possible rate cut. And if you guys been following my channel, you guys know that I've been following the CME Watch tool, which has been very accurate in predicting Fed rate cuts. And we're looking at a very possible 25 basis point rate cut from the Fed that's coming up. That's going to be announced in about 2 hours. Very important to be paying attention to that because not only are we paying attention to the decision, but also the press conference and the outlook of future Fed decisions. Okay. Now, we've been following the CME Watch tool here. So this is nothing new. And we've been expecting a Fed rate cut, okay, based on this watch tool. Let me show you guys what it's saying today, okay, because it has not been announced yet. And what we're looking at is it has been over a 95% chance of a Fed rate cut for a 25 basis point, and right now we're still looking at 98%. Going forward into the December meeting, we still are looking at about almost 100% probability of an ease. January, okay, I mean, these probabilities could change, right? But right now, at this time, it's still looking like we're going to get a few more Fed rate cuts here, right? So that is going to fuel cheaper money coming into this market, like we have seen back in 2021, back in the 2010s. So that is bullish for crypto. That is bullish for risk on assets like stocks. And that is why, and that's one of the main key reasons why I'm bullish on crypto still. Despite all the ups and downs we've been having since the peak of the last bullish wave back in April of last year, right? It has not been a smooth ride since then, but I am still bullish on crypto and, of course, Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is still the driver of this crypto market. Now, we're going to be taking a look into Bitcoin right now real quick before diving into, first of all, we're going to be diving into some major crypto news and economics news. I'm going to be responding to viewer comments. I do read your comments. We're also going to be taking a look into altcoin setups. We're going to be taking a look into Anchor Network Token. Also going to be taking a look into We're also going to be taking a look into Apex, which is ApeX, as well as Horizon, Zen USDT, and see what's happening in these markets later in this video. What are their current trading setups, price targets, if anything has changed since the last time I've talked about these coins, and things have changed because I have invalidated a few charts prior to talking about this video, okay? So very important to be paying attention to these setups and my updates on those altcoins. But first of all, we're going to be talking about Bitcoin because I never trade altcoins without a clear understanding of Bitcoin because it could really affect the direction of a lot of these altcoins here. Now, this is the weekly time frame for Bitcoin, and I've been talking about this huge rising wedge pattern, which is a bearish pattern that has a higher chance of breaking to the downside. And that's why you guys should be paying attention to these chart patterns, especially falling wedges, rising wedges. These are probably your most common patterns, okay? And this one actually broke down to the, and the price target here would be almost 80,000, okay, for this breakdown here. Now, if Bitcoin actually goes towards 80,000, that's not going to be good for a lot of these altcoins because that's a lot of downside, right, to be going towards. And we are seeing some support here, right, at the daily 200 SMA. I've been talking about that support. That support's still holding. We got a pretty good bounce off that, but we are at some resistance that is gonna be a critical point for Bitcoin here, right? We have your weekly 21 SMA that's gonna be resistance at about 113,000. We also have your 3-day moving averages, 3-day 21 SMA, 3-day 50 SMA, at about that 113, 114,000. So quite a bit of resistance in this range here. Okay. Also your daily moving averages, right? Could we be going down all the way back down to the daily 200 SMA for a retest? That is not out of the question. Okay. But first of all, I'm gonna be showing you guys the 12-hour time frame here, which is the key time frame I'm looking at here, because it's been trying to get above your 12-hour 200, your 12-hour 50 SMA, was not successful, and now it's back down to the 12-hour 21 SMA. That is going to be your support. If this support does not hold, then we could be looking at lower support here, okay, for a bounce, for a possible bounce. Now let's zoom into a smaller time frame here. This is a falling wedge pattern on the hourly time frame, and the price target for this falling wedge pattern here, if this thing actually breaks to the upside, which it usually does, the price target for this breakout would be about 116,000, right? However, also have to mind the downside of these falling wedge patterns as well, because even though they have a higher chance of breaking to the upside, they still have a smaller chance of breaking to the downside. Now, very important for Bitcoin bulls to actually comes all the way back up to, of course, overcome the previous all-time high, right, at about 126,000. But there are going to be some key resistance levels to be paying attention to, one of which is going to be 113 to 115 because of those moving averages I pointed out to you guys. The next one would be this upward sloping bottom trend line here. It's not uncommon to see a breakdown below a rising wedge pattern and the price action to go back and bearishly retest this bottom trend line. So very important that Bitcoin gets above that. And of course, the next one would be the previous all-time high before we can see any more bullish momentum coming from this crypto market here, okay? However, if Bitcoin continues to break down, the next level I'll be looking at for a bounce, for a possible bounce, would be about 103,000. I don't expect that to be very strong support if Bitcoin actually goes down there, because if you guys actually look, this that is the weekly 50 SMA that I'm tracking, okay? And the weekly 50 SMA has been tapped 2 times already. So if it goes down there, that'll be the 3rd time, and if you keep hitting a support or resistance, it gets weaker. So, my expectation is it's not going to be very strong support if we actually go down there, okay? The next real support we could potentially be looking at would be the monthly 21 SMA if we actually get down there. That's currently at about 86,000, but that is coming up as the monthly candle closes. Okay, so let's go ahead and read some crypto news and headlines before going into viewer comments, and then before going into some altcoin setups. First piece of news here is by Cointelegraph. The debasement trade has gone mainstream. What it means for Bitcoin. So what the debasement trade is basically the market betting against the dollar, against a weaker dollar. And basically, like this line says, right? His message is simple to analysts. If you don't own hard assets, you're falling behind. And I do think that crypto are hard assets, even though they're not tangible, but they are still assets. In my opinion, they're still assets. Okay, so this is what it is, and let's see what it means for Bitcoin. Okay, if you guys want to read more about this, you guys can, but that is basically the what I think about the headline, right? This is in TradingView. If you guys do want to sign up for TradingView, I do have an affiliate link in the description section below. If you guys sign up using my link, it does support me and I will earn a commission. Let's go ahead and go to the next piece here. Weak dollar, not inflation, fuels Bitcoin's gains. MYDIG knocks crypto experts. Weak dollar and inflation are kind of synonymous, okay? Don't you guys think? Because if you have inflation, then the dollar is weak. I guess if we're talking about maybe foreign exchange terms, then that could mean something else. But inflation, I think, also contributes to a weak dollar. So, I mean, so I really don't think this headline is that logical, right? Because of I think inflation goes hand in hand with the weak dollar. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Next piece is by Cointelegraph. Bitcoin slips at 113,000 as S&P 500 hits new all-time highs into Fed rate move. So key point here, Bitcoin struggles to return to its range highs after its latest sell-off. Bitcoin price targets for the new volatile retest focus on 111,000 and 114.5 thousand weekly candle close. Fed rate cut anticipation sees new record highs for S&P 500, but I've been talking about that the S&P 500, which I also think you guys should be paying attention to, is very correlated with Bitcoin. Okay, so the stock market hitting all-time highs, I think that is also good for Bitcoin, but it is correlated, right? So I mean, it can't be bad for Bitcoin, but let's see if Bitcoin can actually follow the correlation here in the short term, and for us to see some upside here. But usually they are correlated, so S&P 500 hitting new all-time highs cannot be bad for Bitcoin and crypto as a whole. Let's go ahead and go to altcoins here. I mean, viewer comments here, okay? All right, so every Wednesday, every Saturday, I will read and respond to your viewer comments. So if you guys write me, you guys be sure that I will read it and respond. All right, and verbally as well. All right, so next one. So the first one here, it says, "Man, it did a lower low today. I bought it nervously. I bought it, but nervously." Well, thank you very much for sharing. I am still bullish on the markets. I am bullish on quite a bit of these altcoins here. I am long on quite a bit of the altcoins here. I know it has not been an easy ride, but I know that all cycles come to an end. Bull cycles, bear cycles, consolidation cycles, out of everything I've seen in the past 5+ years of trading. So, I can tell you that's my opinion. And of course, these are just my opinions and not financial advice, like the entirety of this video. You guys gotta form your own opinions and strategies. Now, next one here is, it says update us on Optimism coin. Yes, I will do an update soon on that. All right, next one here, it says, this dude has no idea what he's talking about. All right, man. If it doesn't make sense, then don't listen. Now, next one here says bullish on XEC. I am bullish on the almost the entire crypto markets here, right? Because as I've seen back in 2021, if Bitcoin has more room to pump, so will a lot of these altcoins here. I don't think I've actually seen an altcoin that did not pump. That was already in the markets by January 2021. Okay, if it came in the markets later in 2021, that's a different story because it could come in when Bitcoin is dumping, and I don't think that's a good place for altcoins to come into the markets. But if the altcoin was already in the markets before or during a pump, I don't think I've seen an altcoin that has not pumped in 2021. More on Velo, yes. No more updates on Degen. I will update on Degen, but I think I've done a more recent update on Degen. So, check that out. I usually give it a week before I do another update unless something is crazy happening. Now, next one is I gave you a like, but it still says 0. Weird. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, so that's it for viewer comments. Let's go ahead and go to altcoin setups. Altcoin setups here. Okay, let's take a look into Anchor Network and see what's happening with Anchor. All right, weekly time frame here. Anchor Network looks like it's about to have a move soon. And why am I saying that? It's because I've been talking about this falling wedge pattern for quite some time. And falling wedges are bullish patterns that have a higher chance of breaking to the upside. Anchor Network is holding above this bottom trend line here by on the edge right here. Okay, even despite that, crash about 2 weeks ago, Anchor Network still held above this bottom trend line and therefore inside this pattern. Candle wicks do not invalidate patterns. Candle closes do. Now, ever since that crash there, it has been you have seen very little price action here, right? So a move is coming. Let's take a look into a smaller time frame and see if I can get any more clues on what Anchor Network could be doing. 4-hour time frame, I'm not exactly getting any clues here. So daily time frame, we're seeing quite a bit of bullish divergence that could be playing out, and bullish divergence usually tells you that there's probably going to be a bounce or a reversal. Okay, that tells you that the bears are losing strength on this time frame and a reversal is likely. Of course, we're all just talking about probabilities here, right? Nothing in this market is for sure, so always got to consider the downside. Let's go ahead and go to Zen, which is Horizon USDT, and see what's happening in this market here. All right, this is the daily time frame for Horizon, and this is a possible cup and handle pattern that could be forming here. And I'm saying it could be forming because it's not completely validated. If Horizon does actually come back up to retest about $17.50 here, that would validate this cup and handle pattern here. Okay, cup and handles are bullish patterns that have a higher chance of breaking to the upside, and if this actually forms, we can come back here and update what happens with Horizon. Okay, but this is what I'm seeing. Now, this has also broke out of a falling wedge pattern not too long ago. And I'm saying not too long ago because even though it's been quite a few days, it just feels like this bull cycle has been dragging on for a very long time, and even daily time frames are starting to feel like they're smaller time frames. Okay. Now, this price target has already been met, and this is what I'm talking about. When I'm talking about price targets, there could be more, there could be less, a lot of which does depend on what happens with Bitcoin. If Bitcoin starts dumping from here, that is not going to be good for altcoins, okay? So always got to remember to pay attention to Bitcoin here. Let's take a look into a smaller time frame and see if I can get any clues on what's happening with Horizon, right? There is quite a bit of divergence that could be playing out here. Bearish divergence in this case, which usually means that there's going to be a pullback, and this happens, okay? So this is still a potential cup and handle scenario here because I'm still seeing rounded bottoms even on a smaller time frame. So very, very important to see if Horizon can come back up here to retest $17.50, I'm just going to say, and complete this cup and handle pattern on the daily time frame. Let's go ahead and go to ApeX and see what's happening with ApeX. Now, I do want to mention again that there has been patterns that have invalidated because they have either broken down or the price targets have been met since the last time I've talked about these coins. Now, ApeX has broken out of this falling wedge pattern. Price target basically has been met and some more. And that's why you guys should be paying attention to these patterns. Very simple, very effective to chart. It gives you lower risk entries rather than chasing pumps, right, when it actually breaks out. Now, this is the daily time frame for ApeX, okay? Daily time frame, if ApeX can come back up to $1.45 here, this could validate a cup and handle scenario again, okay? And it is not validated yet, so something's to be paying attention to, $1.45. 4-hour time frame. This is a falling wedge pattern. Okay, falling wedges. Like I said, you guys don't need me to remind you, right? This is a price target. If it breaks to the upside here, will be about $1.38 price target. If it breaks out by this point, for example. So this is basically what I'm seeing for some of these coins in this market. Let me know if you guys want to continue seeing any more of ApeX, Horizon, Anchor Network, or any other coins in this market. I'll pick a request to you for guys on a daily basis, and I'll see you on the next one.